Hey guys, it's a7RIV from hrimages. Today's video we'll be reviewing the a7R4 with John Sisson. Right now we're just having a breakfast. I'm having a, what's it called, John? A bao, and John's having a banh mi, I think? Yeah, well,
have a roll.
He's having a roll, but yeah. So we're going to be reviewing the a7R4 today. I have the a7R3, so we will be doing a bit of a comparison just to show you the differences in terms of the build quality and the difference in terms of the optics and everything, comparing the two, so people can know. I'm getting a lot of questions whether it's worth upgrading from the a7R3 to the a7R4, so hopefully this video will help you as well. And we'll be doing a full review on the R4, so stay tuned guys. Comparing the a7R4 to the a7R3, the a7R4 has a beefier grip opposed to the a7R3, making it a lot more comfortable to hold. So that's one big plus I liked about the R4, is just that it just feels more at home opposed to the R4 where the grip is not as big. Showing you the difference. So you can see how the R4, which is the top one, has got a larger grip opposed to the R3. So it has a better comfort in the grip than the R3. If you're comparing as well on the back of the camera, the a7R4, the buttons already have, you've got like the joystick button, which feels a lot more sturdier and not as flimsy a bit like the R3. Just feels more comfortable to sort of control, where the R3 has just more of like a smaller knob and the R4 has just got a larger knob with just little grips in it. And another thing I did like about it as well, the exposure dial's got its own lock, where the R3 doesn't. Comparing both of them, you have the 60.1 megapixels opposed to 42 megapixel camera. A lot of people say, why should they spend on the 60 megapixel opposed to the 42? Well, the 60 megapixel is not for everyone. The reason I decided to upgrade to mine, to R4, is because in weddings, for example, I normally use the R3 as a backup, but now I'm using the R4 as a backup camera, where when I can switch it into crop mode, I'm having 26 megapixels, which is the largest crop sensor out there on the R4. So then if I can want the extra reach, if I'm using an 85mm or 135mm, for example, need the extra reach, I do crop more, it becomes a 200mm. If I do need to crop in a bit more, I still got plenty of room to crop. So that's one intention, that reason I got it, got that difference as well. Focusing wise, the R4 is definitely faster than the R3. Dynamic range, for some reason I did find that the R4 does produce a better image quality opposed to the R3 in my time of shooting. So we're going to be doing like just autofocus tests, different sort of tests on the cameras today, showing you and giving you our feedback, me and John. Other than that, that's really it. Oh, and also, if you can see, I kind of preferred, in a way, the R4. Their menu system's a bit different. So for example, when you go to the custom key, it actually has got now a little picture of the camera showing you where each dial is. So making it easier for you to know what custom you're setting at. The R4, the menu system, especially the custom key, I actually prefer this way opposed to what the R3 was. So it's a bit easier to navigate through, making it easier to select what you want done. Even the custom key, everything. On the R4, they've actually also redesigned the weather sealing as well, so it's a lot better than the R3. So that's another advantage as well with the R4. So that'll give you just a bit of a rundown. So now John and I will be walking around. We're just waiting for one of our model to come as well, so we'll be taking some shots, doing the autofocus test. We'll be also doing real-time IA for the video, just to show you guys how well it works and comparing it to the R3. So we'll get it started. So we're going now to meet up with the model. I'm carrying my R4 with my 135 on my Spider holster, and Johnny Boy is using his Peak design. On
the Peak design. Peak design's awesome, man.
He likes Peak design. I'm not a fan of it. I prefer the Spider holster. We're here with John, having some coffee, and our model Helen. Once we have finished our coffee, we'll head out and we'll get this review started. So stay tuned, guys. What I like about the a7R4 is the real-time IF and the autofocus is a lot better than the a7R3. A lot of people question whether how good is it to the A9. It's quick, but it's no A9 in comparison. But in the a7R4, it is definitely a lot faster. One thing Sony has just recently brought out is real-time IF for video. So I'll just get my model Helen to stand over there. And just to show you, as you can see, just see how it just follows on her eyes and stuff. So if I get her to record that, come forward, Helen, a little bit. So it just follows her eyes, walk back. And it just sort of stays in focus, making it a lot easier to track, and it just makes it a lot easier to track as opposed to whereas the a7R3 and that you got more of the facial recognition, but even when you're doing like vlogs and things like that, it will just always constantly focus on your eye, making sure everything's in focus, making it a lot easier to use as well. So now what I'm doing, I've got the Blackmagic monitor, so it's recording the viewfinder. Just to show you with the eye autofocus, with the eye autofocus, I intend to keep it on wide in focus area. So now when she moves left and right, you can see how the eye tracks against, tracks with her, so it doesn't lose it. So if she turns around in a circle, yep, it still tracks her, and then as she turns around, it focuses on her eye. So the a7R4 is a lot quicker with focus, and the tracking is just unbelievable. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna track her and get her to come towards me to get some multiple shots. And then what I'll do, I'll put up on the screen as well the multiple shots of these, just to show you each one on how they are in focus, how it stays in focus, and if there's any missed shots. Okay, face that way. Lean both hands against the railing. Yeah, that's it. Just wait for the person to move. Ready? 1, 2. Just the focusing alone is really quick and snappy. Lean on your back against the railing. Here you go. Yep, so drop your head a little bit. Combination between the R4 and the 135 GM is just unbelievable. The bokeh, the detail, the 60 megapixel does make a bit of difference, especially if you decide to crop in. Just look how sharp that is. Just that 60 megapixel, the detail alone makes a big difference with the 60 megapixels opposed to the 42 megapixel. So it just comes down to whether you want a larger megapixel file in terms of heavy cropping or large printing, or your 42 megapixel does justice for you. So it just comes down to each user and what they prefer. What I'm doing now, I'm just going to show you guys. Someone asked me how well the high ISO performance for this camera is. I know with the a7R3, I've always shot at 12,800 ISO, had a bit of noise, but I've always done a bit of noise reduction, and the file is perfect. Never had any issues in shooting high ISO with it. So what I've done, I've put my model down the stairway where it's a bit darker. I'm going to be shooting at f5.6 at a shutter speed of 1,250. Reason being, just so I can shoot at ISO 12,800, just to show you the noise in with this camera. So like now, it's a bit dark on her, so I've increased the ISO at 12,800. And then I'll put up on the screen on how it is with high ISO at 12,800, straight out of camera, and after I post-process it with a bit of noise reduction so you guys can see the difference. So with this test now, I'm just going to show you, I'm actually recording on the screen as well, just to show you the autofocus, how quick the autofocus is from focusing from the model to the background. So it's actually very quick and very snappy. There's no struggle, no delay. And as you can see, it's not very well lit in here, and the focusing does keep up very well. There is definitely a big improvement in terms of autofocus. Comparing it to the a7R3, if I would shoot the a7R3, it does hunt a little bit sometimes, depending on the low light. But look, I've never had really too much of an issue with it, but I do find feels a lot snappier than the R3. Another feature, what I did love about the Sony R4, comparing to the a7R3, you can actually now select which eye you do want to get in focus. So for example, if I go to menu, and if you go to the page, the camera number 2, page 9 out of 11, custom key, and if you go down, you can actually select whichever one you prefer, but what I've done, custom 2, as you can see on the left hand side, shows you which one I have. Custom 2, you can actually switch it now to switch right and left eye. So once you select that, if you don't want, come a bit closer, Helen. Yep. Okay, yes, stop. So now you can actually let the camera pick the eye autofocus on its own, which eye it prefers. Now, if you do not want the camera to pick, you can actually switch to right or left eye. So you can decide which eye you want to be in focus, depending on the sort of style of shooting that you are doing. So that's one thing I do like, especially adding the custom feature button on there to select the eye. Or you can just rely on the camera to pick which one you want, or just select. And especially the tracking as well. Noticing when shooting, when I'm recording on the back of the screen as well, the focal point is now colored, so you can actually choose white or red. I've currently got it on white because it's easier to see depending on the background, where red, if you have red, it will sort of kind of blend in the background depending on what you're shooting, if it's a darker or brighter, vibrant color. But that's another thing, everyone's been always begging Sony to change the color focal point, where before it was gray. Unless you press it, then it will turn green. Now it's white, you press, it turns green, so you know it's actually in focus. So that's another good feature Sony has added onto the camera. So that's just a quick review on the a7R4, the added features, showing you the performance and how well it is, especially the real-time IF for video, which is a great feature. Real-time IF on stills, it's a lot better. The tracking's a lot stickier on them opposed to the R3, where it tends to sort of misses the focus and the subject comes out of focus. I've done executive shots, so you can actually see in the performance in how many frames that does stay in focus as she's walking up towards me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel, and stay tuned for future videos. And thank you to Helen for being my model today. I will have an Instagram link below, and John Sisson as well, who's helped me in this video. So I'll have his YouTube video at the top. So do check his channel out. He does a lot of gear reviews as well. So do check him out. He's got some reviews we're working on today as well. So see you guys.